Let me get this up here.
Right.
The all right. Got a lot today. Got another special guest. It's 3 weeks in a row. It's special guests.
Hey, this podcast is getting popular.
It is. Everybody wants to come on and hang with you, Chip.
I think the right way to say it's becoming more meaningful.
Meaningful. I like.
Meaningful, not
Oh, I thought you said
meaningful.
meeting. I thought it was like some play on words.
I gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Enough fun and games. Okay, Chip, I'm going to put you in the driver's seat for wins of the week. Then we'll go to Ben, had a really good one to talk about on a win. So I put that, gave it a special, special line. Then we got our special guest, Jonathan Lieberman and team at ACIUM. So we'll how about an extra? I left out an L here. And then we got Amanda. Ben found some really good stuff on P1 licenses and Intra. We're actually going to talk about that. And then I got a few things. So the week in cyber, oh boy, do we have a few things, don't we, Chip? That
Yes,
we're going
we
to
do.
All right, so let you kick it off, Chip. Wins of the week, and you all out there as well. If you have any awesome wins, love to hear about them. But starting with you, Mr. Buck, anything exciting?
So win of the week for me, before we turn it over to partner wins of the week. If you were here early enough, you would have noticed that I was in this call by 5 minutes to one.
Wow.
And if you put that in context of the last 6 weeks, where I'm pretty much late every single week, that means that there's been a breakthrough on the topic that Enrique, I think, brings up the most, which is, hey, let's get the simplified pricing stuff going the way SaaS does it inside the rest of Kaseya. So good news to report there. We've really made some nice headway for once. I'm not late, battling and scrapping over the details of that. So we're headed in the right direction, guys. We're going to keep shoving it forward, and you will see changes, no question about it. Partner wins of the week. Anybody out there have a good one? Ben's got a whopper he's going to bring on, but let's open it up to the floor first.
Well, I do see Tina wearing her SaaS Alert shirt, so that's a win right now already. But besides that, who's got it?
I'll kick it off. We
All
had a
right.
partner who isn't able to make this because he's overseas and he'll be watching this on replay. One of the conditional access policies that we built looks for compromised IPs. Out of the billions of alerts that we see every week, we've sort of identified a bunch of the common places where we're seeing trouble come from. So we built this conditional access policy. You can put it in place using Fortify. It's a dynamic one we update every 24 hours. And it literally stopped an attack coming from Kansas. We had an IP that was identified as being troublesome, and one of our partners was quite surprised to see that he was being attacked from good old-fashioned Kansas, but it was on our list, and they found out that the person's credentials had been compromised. So that's one of those economies of scale sorts of things. We couldn't do this without the telemetry that we're getting for the rest of the Kaseya products, and I thought I should highlight that. Some neat stuff.
That's a good win, Anthony.
Really cool.
And a nod to our engineering team who's, continued to push things forward so we can do things like that. Dynamic Fortify rules weren't possible a year ago, number one, and fully dynamic IOCs across all monitor products weren't available a year ago. So there's some pretty big advancements that Liron and the team have brought to the fore that allow us to do these things. So good wins.
Yeah, huge. Liron phenomenal with the IOC stuff. Oh, Andy, what you
I
got?
had a question for Anthony and Chip. Is there any other product that does this dynamic rule that you guys are building? In other words, how does I don't know of another product that's doing this, and SaaS Alerts is doing this for us. And so I was just trying to raise that to a level of awareness that this having a dynamic list for bad IPs with all the data that you're starting to collect has real value.
We're
I mean, I
still
agree with your
learning.
statement, but I've got to believe that there are some other enterprise grade products out there that are capable of similar
Okay, so
behavior.
I
I don't
will
go study what other products
I
do.
will
So
refine this down to the MSP product level then, and what we deliver to our SMB customers.
So I actually, hey everybody, I actually think Defender does it, but it only does it in Edge. So you have to be using Edge, which is how Microsoft kind of locks itself in. So if you're not using Edge, if you're using anything else, Microsoft just kind of says, it lets everything through.
But Roman,
So
I
yeah.
understood this to be a hacker trying to log into 365, not someone using Edge.
Oh no,
correct.
I meant more like IP scanning and DNS filtering based on malicious IPs, and they do update their database quite frequently, but only if you're using Edge. Nothing with login in. I mean more of a IP malicious IP kind of register that they're having. So yeah, Microsoft does it, but only for Microsoft products alone. If you're using anything else, you're not protected. Which kind of brings me to win of the week, if I may. I think last week after the call, at around 7 p.m., got a hit. One of our rules triggered Axios for SaaS alerts. And it's one of our legal clients, which I know they're strictly 9 to 5, 5 o'clock, they're out the door, and they're not using laptops, they're strictly in office. So I'm like, all right, that's weird. And, since we get the SIM, I created all these rules. So basically on Axios, I automatically revoke sessions and force password change on next login. And I contacted our guy, this is a co-managed environment. I contacted the IT guy there. And of course, just complaining, she's this, she's that. And then turns out, she clicked on one of those weird links she didn't know that she was supposed to click, and she put her information in that she didn't know she was supposed to put in. So there you go. SaaS alert stops an attack. So that's definitely a win for us here.
Great stuff. All right. Others. Scanning. All right. Ben, let's go to you because you had a whopper.
And a good segue from Roman, as you'll all soon see.
Do you want to, speaking of C, do you want me to let you share?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So this one came in Friday, and it was an MSA partner. Basically, we started getting a massive amount of those Axios rule triggers, and one of our guys reached out to me and said, "Hey, this thing, is this right? It appears to be going off a whole bunch and across multiple different email accounts." And I looked into it, and yes, it was correct. And we reached out to the partner and told them, hey, this appears to be a widespread attack on a healthcare organization.
Yeah.
And probably they're using the same kind of tactics that even Chip and I kind of demonstrated in one of our token thefts, was sharing a file from another SharePoint to a whole bunch of different people. And upon clicking on the specialist document here, a Word document, it opens up this right here, had the signature of a person that sent it, the logo, and also a little bit of verbiage here. Please kindly access the document. And this link took them off to a phishing site, basically, that redirected a couple of times. And it went off to this URL, bounced over to painting-women.ru and around a little bit, and finally ended up on a token theft site, and ran a couple of different detections on it, and it appears to be the Tycoon 2FA phishing kit.
Ben, that's what we talked about last week. The leader.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yep.
It's only
And
$200 a month.
yeah. And I want to show you this, and pretty much everybody has probably seen something similar to this in the past. Let me open up my browser here. But if you've never used this, it's a great little detonation sandbox that you can fire up. It doesn't cost you anything. But basically, go into that URL, and they've recorded. This is kind of they've recorded and base64 encoded the URL a little bit to include ID, so they can track who has clicked on this phishing email and fallen for it. Then it redirects them a couple of times to this little Spanish site that is actually being protected by Cloudflare, so keep them from being DDoSed. And once you prove that you are human, it then takes you to the usual thing that we all are kind of used to at this point, which is the sign-in page. But if you'll notice, the URL is obviously not Microsoft, which kind of leads us back to the please check your URL, make sure you know what you're clicking on. And obviously, this is kind of a dead giveaway. This is something not normal, but anybody that's not looking at that at the top is going to fall for it.
Hey,
And did the
Ben,
initial person, sorry, Liron, obviously the initial person did, correct, Ben, to let the threat actor
Several
know?
times, several people submitted and were able to gain access into the environment before we kicked them out, and some of them followed. It was malicious mailbox forwarding rules. We saw those created in our system again. Basically just removed their access. But
So
the
Ben, you
partner.
said several,
Mhm.
but one of the things that's impressive to me about this, and maybe go back to your first slides.
Mhm.
Sorry, Liron, I want you to talk in a minute.
I'm just wondering why the hop to Russia, like why all those extra hops? It's just inefficient and go straight to the phishing site.
So I opened it with a Tor browser, and it basically redirected me off to Best Buy. So there's some checks in there that make sure it's coming from a legitimate IP address and not someone trying to just kind of figure out doing some investigating. If you mess around with that, the base64 encoding ID at all, it will also redirect you off to a legitimate site just to kind of get you out of the way.
I like that they're protecting their phishing site from DDoS. You would not want your phishing site to go
You
down.
do
That would be
not.
bad.
No,
Yeah,
you really
that's
don't.
important.
Especially when you're spending a few $100 a month, Liron.
Yeah. And no, Chip, did you have something you wanted to ask?
I did. So, Ben had to sanitize these images to protect the innocent. But what jumped out at me when Ben first showed me this and the subsequent image, unlike a lot of the phishing schemes that we've seen, this one had really, really high quality graphics and images. It was very easy for someone to fall for it. And I don't know the exact size of this organization, but the count that Ben gave on this is 25 people inside this company fell for this within a couple of hours of each other. That's a huge number. I'm guessing we're, between 100 and maybe 250 employees in this business. I know Ben knows the exact number and probably shouldn't display that, but we're in the range of 10 to 20% of employees in this company that fell for this one. So the point I'm making is these continue to get more sophisticated. When you can capture that percentage of an otherwise knowledgeable group of knowledge workers, that's pretty impressive. And
Well,
keep our guard up and keep using the
Yes.
education tools to really push forward and train employees not to fall for this stuff.
Chip, there's a reason Tycoon TFA is the leader in the field.
Yep.
They use Cloudflare, that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
A
all
lot of
about
them. A lot of them do. A lot of these kind of scams were hide behind Cloudflare.
Which is amazing that number one, it helps to add an air of legitimacy to the experience because you're used to seeing that Cloudflare thing as an end user. But the other piece that's amazing to me is that Cloudflare itself doesn't realize what's going on, that they're effectively helping to support the vectors for this kind of an attack.
Well, how about the number of captchas, Chip? I have one today too for captcha.
Yep.
By the way, Liron, what is the roadmap look like potentially down the road where, when you have a situation like this, that this is, I don't know, popping up something to go, hey, you really should do security awareness training, or, you know, some kind of like next step, like, you know, 20% of your company just fell for this, or some kind of enablement to the MSP, that, you know, yeah, like a lead source to, I don't think there could be a better time, Liron. Like, does that make sense to you, bud?
Are you talking about how does the SaaS Alerts product help with the training of this type of thing, or
Yeah, or
prevent
could
in the
there
first
be,
place?
right? Like, obviously, this is, you know, a clear and present, you know, no one checked that the UR, you know, malicious URLs, things like that, you know,
So I've thought about this for some time, right? And I think when you get a phishing email like this, if I was building a phishing product, I would build logic that says, and maybe this is how they work, and I just don't know, but look at the email, and the email says, go log into Microsoft, and then compare the URL that you're actually redirecting the user to, right? So I think, like I always say, cybersecurity is a multi-layered defense, right? So catching this ideally before it even hits the inbox. We all have seen the headers that we get on our emails, like external email, but like, you know, we see that so often we tend to ignore it. But ideally, don't let it hit the inbox in the first place. And then even before we were acquired by Kaseya, we were using Bullfish to do internal phishing campaigns. And then if you fell for one, you had to unfortunately go through the entire course set to kind of learn how to do these things. And then you could just do what I do, which is any email that you get with a link on it, like asking to approve time off and expenses or whatnot, right? Those are all just phishing emails that I have to be careful of, Andrew.
yeah, no, I just think there's something there, Chip. I know you said hold the question, but like, you know, to me, the SAT stuff is, I just think it's broken the way it's done. And I think, and Jonathan's going to be talking about browser based and things. I just think there's a way that it can be, there's some next gen thing out there, Chip, that we're just not, you know what I'm saying, bud? Like, it's broken the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not real time enough. It's not keeping up with current threats. Like, tell me the last time you got a security awareness training that talks about token hijacking.
Well, I don't fall for this stuff, so I don't get thrown into the remedial pool. So, but what you're driving at, Andrew, is something that I think we're on the cusp of as an industry. On the cusp of, in the sense that anti-malware, anti-phishing tools within a year or so should be agentic enough that they can actually go click on the URL that's embedded, follow it back, examine that URL contents against a legitimate Microsoft or Google or Salesforce login, and flag it automatically. If they deliver it, I were building that product, I would deliver it to the inbox with a big message stamped across it saying, "Do not click on this. This is a sample of a phishing email." That's what I would do with it.
Well,
But
and
you can just
maybe
or stick it in a quarantine file, quarantine folder. But I think we're going to get to that place pretty soon.
yeah, and strip the URL, whatever, so you can.
Yep. So if I may, the Kaseya's product Graphis, it started off when we signed up for it last October at DataCon. It was really, really basic. It has grew leaps and bounds, and I was hopefully part of kind of the roadmap shaping it. It throws in, it works with, it's not through the MX, it's not gateway security. It works through APIs, right through the Graph API. And I think that's what it does. It literally puts in a big yellow banner that's dynamic. So based on whatever it is, the banner and the wording changes. So something like this would be, hey, it's prompting you to log in, but look at the URL. Don't do it. And there's 3 buttons: report phishing, block as junk, and mark as safe. If you mark as safe, the banner goes away, never comes back for the sender. If you report phishing, obviously it reports phishing. And for other things, like for example, if Chip would be emailing from, he always emails from Kaseya.com. Now he'd be emailing from, I don't know, Kaseya.com, whatever it is, right? It'll say that, hey, Chip usually emails from Kaseya.com. He's an VIP in your organization, but here he is emailing from a different domain. Please pay attention. And the thing I like about this product is these banners always change. And like you guys mentioned, the static external banner, it becomes so mundane. People just kind of don't look at it anymore because they're so used to it. This thing changes all the time. And, we started deploying it for everybody a lot. And, there's almost no complaints and stopping a lot of things.
That's awesome. Enrique.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Take a look at Outthink, outthink.io.
Okay. Outtake?
Outthink.
Like outthinking, outthink.io.
Outtink.io.
And basically, they have capabilities. They're tied into Entra, modify conditional access policies based on behaviors and patterns and things like that. So they work with a lot of like Coca-Colas and Wells Fargo's and those types of customers. But yeah, they have something very interesting.
Nice. MSP friendly, Enrique, multi-tenanted?
No, not multi-tenant, yes. They want to be MSP friendly. They hired someone for MSP friendly, but when they're doing deals of 100,000 users and stuff, it's like, how do they put resources on the other side of it? So I would say not too MSP friendly, even though that's what they want to do.
Got it. All right. In interest of time, Jonathan, are you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you with us. All right. So we're going to spend about 20 minutes and then with Jonathan and team, and then we'll leave some time. We got some news we want to get into, but Chip, do you want to set the stage? Because I think you've spoken to Jonathan, and I'll let you kick it off from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jonathan Lieberman is at this point an old friend. I think it's probably 10 years, 12 years that we've known each other. Bounced around a lot of different business ideas over time. We're competitors of a type at one point when we were running Cloud Workspace. Jonathan has his own product. We had a slightly different go-to-market angle, so we never sort of banged up and banged heads against each other. It was always really friendly. Let's help each other succeed. Just an all-around great. Has terrific ideas on the technology side and is very good at bringing in teams to execute on that. So I won't steal any other thunder. Jonathan is here to present a new product that his team has developed. And Andy, this one is something that you frequently bring up, which is browser security and how that can be managed. So we thought it'd be useful to have Jonathan come on and show us his stuff. So Mr. Lieberman, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Chip. Appreciate the kind words. So I was sitting at my desk a few months ago, staring at a little Zoom box, sort of similar to what I'm looking at right now. And right away, I knew that this call was going to be different because the guy on the other side was visibly shaken. He was the chief security officer at a bank, and his bank had just suffered a breach. One of his customer service reps had what she thought innocently downloaded an extension that ended up leaking all of her credentials and exposing the bank to harm. And the worst part was that it had slipped through all of the security measures that this chief security officer had put in place. And I could feel it. It wasn't just about the breach. It was about responsibility. Here was a guy that was in charge of keeping the bank safe. And yet he now realized that he had a blind spot when it came to security, which was the web browser. And the problem is everywhere. The browser is now the #1 target for cyber attacks, and yet most companies of all sizes are doing very little to protect themselves against these browser-based attacks. And as he was explaining what happened, I had to hold myself back from jumping through the screen because I knew that if they had ACIUM solutions in place, none of this would have happened. And so as Chip alluded to, what we've built at ACIUM is a browser security solution that detects and stops malicious code before it ever penetrates the company's network, the company's files, data, everything. And we do it invisibly in the background without disrupting the way people work. And so that story is just the beginning because what's happening at the bank is happening everywhere. The browser has become the new front door to cyber attacks. And I'm really pleased to be able to share with you what we're doing today. My name is, as Chip said, John Lieberman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a relatively new company called ACIUM. And today I'm going to share with you, what we're doing, what we're building, and how we can help you deliver a lot more value to your clients. And I have just 10 slides. It's going to be about 8 minutes. And then we'll leave some time for Q&A. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just present my screen here.
Should be a little green arrow at the bottom there.
Yep. Let me know when you all can see my screen.
We can.
All right, full screen?
Yep.
Excellent. So I was excited, when we were invited to present to Kaseya's partners, because I knew that security and threat protection are of an increasing concern to all of you all, and that it's become a real strategic part of your businesses. And so, the browser, as I said, and as we all know, has become the new headquarters, the new office for companies. 83% of employees say that they can accomplish, all of their work, within a browser. And the reality is that your clients and their workers don't just use the browser, they work and live in it. And think about all the law firms, accountants, doctors, the agencies, everybody, their most sensitive data and critical applications are accessed through these online applications, through a web browser, and it's where they run their entire companies. But unfortunately, today's security stacks are blind to browser-based attacks. I don't care if you're, using your VPNs, SWIGs, secure access gateways, CASBs, SASEs, firewalls, EDRs, lots of fancy names. The reality is that all of these tools have very little visibility into the activity inside the browser, nor the power to detect and prevent threats. They cannot see risky extensions being installed, malicious files downloaded from sites, or sensitive data being passed into personal webmail, client, and other mechanisms. Here's a compelling graph I found just recently that demonstrates my point. Browser attacks aren't just a theory, they're the new reality. The data is clear. Attackers are shifting their focus. In the last year alone, breaches originating from a simple browser download have jumped to 70% of all breaches. This includes phishing, malware, malicious extensions, and other ransomware downloaded from the internet via a web browser. I was engaged when you all were talking and started the meeting, on some of these phishing attacks and other things. And all of this is coming in through the browser. And why is that? It's because it's the path of least resistance. We've had a lot of tools invented over the past 10, 15, 20 years for, email security, for device security, for networks, for other things, but not when it comes to the browser. And that's why attackers are actively targeting it, because they know it's the weakest link in most security strategies. And so that's where ACIUM comes in. We've now been building ACIUM for a year and a half, 2 years. We call our approach Unified Browser Security, or UBS. And it's basically security for the browser workspace. We give MSPs a single control plane to see, manage, and protect every browser on any device, anywhere. We have a lot of use cases where we have found, where we're delivering value with everything being guided by zero trust principles. But I would say that there's 3 that we're seeing that are the most requested. The first is centralized browser control through a single hub. Gives you the ability to secure and manage any browser. Today, we have Chrome, which is 63% of the market, Edge, another 10 to 15%, and we'll very soon have both Safari and Firefox and others, encompassing at least 95% of the browsers that you see out there. Any browser, that's built, on Chromium, which is really all modern browsers, are essentially, manageable by ACIUM. The second use case that we're seeing a lot of is extension risk control and management. This is becoming super important for companies, and for companies like yourselves that are protecting your clients. There are now over, I think, 1 million extensions that have been invented over time, and there's a decent percentage of these extensions that have become infiltrated with malicious code, have become dangerous for companies to be installing without knowledge. And we give you unbelievable visibility to that. We enable you to risk score and create policies that allow companies to automatically download or restrict extensions that you don't want in the network. And then finally, protecting data loss from Gen AI tools. Obviously, that's the topic of the moment, and we've got quite a lot of tools and capabilities around managing and restricting what you want to allow within a company. As a former MSP myself, there are thousands of great product ideas that never got traction because of how challenging they were to deploy and operate. I can tell you, I've been in a couple of those businesses, and that's why we built ACIUM, for MSPs as a pure cloud service. There's no complex rollouts. There's no professional services required. It's super easy. It's 3 steps. Basically, you sign into the ACIUM partner portal, you apply security policies, using some of our templates, and then you deploy it to users. It's that fast. It's pure SaaS, no hardware, and completely frictionless to the end user. So one of the great attributes of this service is that the users really don't see any difference. They don't interact with the software. It all happens transparently in the background. And so really what what's the opportunity here for MSPs? Simply put, incorporating ACIUM, into your technology portfolio as a new high margin line item for a solution that your clients actually need. And specifically, it's adding a new revenue stream. It's easy to explain, sell, and install. I love this business because of how easy it is to explain. Everybody knows, everybody uses browsers. They're not protected. We protect them. And, we're going to charge you for doing that. It closes a security gap, that will only grow in the future, if not contained now. So I think it's pretty clear to most people that we all work in browsers and they're vulnerable, and we need to make sure that we're protected from threats. And then finally, it's a way to differentiate your MSP. Look, I acknowledge this is an emerging category. I would say that I think Gartner said that 90% of companies of all sizes out there today are not doing anything to protect themselves against browser-borne viruses or security. And so this is an emerging category, but it's going to grow quickly because of the need. So it's really a way to really give yourself a competitive edge and differentiate yourself. Just a little bit about our team. From my co-founder Ian Bray, who's in the meeting with me, to our investors and board, who have built some of the most trusted and recognizable companies in cyber, and their success has relied on identifying breakthrough technologies like ACIUM and on establishing partnerships. Almost all of them have grown through MSPs and channel partners to build their businesses, and so that's really core to our go-to-market and exactly the playbook that we are following here at ACIUM. I would encourage you to check out our website, check out some of our team members. Many of you may know them from the industry. And so, our goal here is to attract and appeal to you all to partner with us. We're looking for forward-thinking Kaseya partners to join us in this journey. We've got a special offer that we've created: free NFR licenses for your own MSP, exclusive partner margins, dedicated channel support. You can scan this code or visit us to book a 15-minute demo or claim your free license. And then I also I'm working out with Chip and Jim Lippy at Kaseya, a way for us to have you all sign up easily. But before I get to the Q&A, you might be wondering, what happened to that guy in my story who was the head of security at the bank? Well, as I walked him through it, I could see a physical change in him, a shift from panic to relief, because after testing our solution for just a short time, he signed a contract, and that bank became our first customer. And I'm also proud to say that after deploying that customer with over 100 employees and 4 branches in different locations and getting them up and running, took about as long as my presentation. And if my clock is correct, I spent about 8 to 9 minutes. So that's how long it takes to deploy a 4-location bank with over 100 employees. And anytime you find a product like that that delivers the value that we provide, I think you're onto something. So with that, I will open up to Q&A. And I have Ian here and Ian is our technical co-founder and really the visionary behind the technology. Has been involved in end user computing and security for over 20 years. So with that, I will stop it here and open it up for Q&A.
So I'll start, Jonathan, since no one else. But is it ready prime time right now?
So yeah, we're active in the market. We're signing up customers, and let me explain our go to market and how it impacts the Kaseya community. So when we launched the business less than a year ago, our prime target was mid market and channel exclusively go to market. And the channel partners that, for the most part, we've signed up have been focused on mid-market customers that typically have their own IT departments and want a dedicated infrastructure. And so while our infrastructure was built from day one to be multi-tenanted, the front end dashboard is not yet built for multi-tenant. I know that is table stakes for you guys. And then also from a role-based access control from an RBAC point of view, you'll have that. And then from a billing integration, with your billing systems, we also have a way to do that fairly quickly. But here's what I want to also add, and as an offer, because we don't yet have the multi-tenanted capability. We're offering, for the Kaseya community, for the ones that are in this call, you all will basically get access to the platform for free until we deliver that feature. So you'll have the ability to install the solution, to deploy it, to start getting all the value of the platform without paying us a nickel on licensing until we deliver that multi-tenanted capability.
That's pretty cool. Andy loves browser security, and he has his hand up. So go ahead, Andy.
Well, I put in chat my questions, figuring that someone might read them. But my questions around extensions that have dual capabilities, and I learned about Urban VPN and found out that it's free, and it provides VPN services, but they get to collect the data. But if you pay for it, it provides VPN services, and it's quote safe. And so that has impact. So how do we identify those types of extensions that are currently available? And then I drill down on, may I establish browser profiles tied to a compliance framework and report back on the browsers, right? I assume that would be table stakes as well.
It's already in the product, yeah. So I'll go in reverse order. The profiles, yeah, we handle that. We report on the profiles you have. You deploy the extension to each profile you wish to manage. So you don't want it to manage someone's personal stuff, it doesn't get deployed there. It gets deployed just in corporate. If you're in a highly regulated environment, they don't get a choice. They get it in every profile, right? And we can report on it. So it gives you the optionality on both. It also allows us, with the sensor, we can see other browsers. We can see the URLs being opened. We can see which profile you're trying to open it in. So thou shalt not open Salesforce in your Brave personal browsing session. It can only be opened in Chrome. Is entirely possible to set up. On the dual use extensions, we look at the extensions from an objective security perspective. So what's the code like? What's the content security policy like? What permissions does it have? Rather than how you're using it necessarily, it's more about, is this a risk to you? And do you want to change whether they can use it in this profile? Do you want to restrict the permissions it's got access to? Like, shouldn't have access to the clipboard, shouldn't be able to read your cookies. So you can still deploy the extension, but then attenuate what it can do, or you can just block it, or you can just block it in a particular profile. Okay.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
I think I'll sit through one of your demos and we'll find out. How about that?
Okay, great. Even better. Thank you.
Andy, you had a third one in there
I
around drift management. Let's just get that on the table, and then Roman's got his hand up.
All right, so my third question was, what if I attempt to bypass this using incognito windows or installing a temporary browser? How does ACIUM help us detect and prevent those issues?
incognito, you can force install the extensions that it applies to incognito. We have a sensor as well. The sensor will install the extension to every browser it finds. So if we see Brave, because you've just installed from USB stick, it will have us within Brave. That's kind of the core thing, is stopping the shadow IT thing of like, haha, I can work around this, because I was that guy. Just if you can stop me and you can stop my kids, you can stop everyone kind of game. That's how we've got to build it from the paranoid perspective, and that's why we aren't producing our own browser, is that people like to bring their own. You need to be aware of people opening URLs. You need to be aware that it's not a monolithic environment. You know, I might use Chrome for work. I might use Edge personally, but I need to know what URLs you're opening and where, and put them in the right context. Okay.
Thank you.
Roman?
Roman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Two questions. One for Ian. You mentioned we could block what certain extensions do. Are we able to uninstall extensions as well, pull it from the computers?
Yep.
Cool. All right. And the second question is, any integrations with SaaS alerts and or the rest of Kaseya suite, the RMM, for example?
I can answer that one. Not yet.
Okay.
Completely open to playing ball though, Chip.
Oh yeah.
Everything in the we store everything in OCFS format. Pass those data feeds over, so we can run another point of data, data points that can be fed into SaaS alerts that way. And then you're getting it from the edge space of what the user's actually doing inside the browser, down to how long particular scripts take to load, what types of scripts, things like that as well. So some more of the morphology that you were talking about earlier, we can give you some really early feeds on what's going on there. Okay.
But you have like some sort of a deployment script in the background that could push through a RMM, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Perfect. Okay.
Easy.
That's it. Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Harlan. Do we just lose Gary? As I said,
Gary's muted again.
you there, Gary?
Better?
Yes.
All right. Is there an approximate price point that you're looking at for this, A? And B, I wasn't fast enough for the QR code. Could you put the URL in the chat so we can come back to it?
Sure, we'll do that. Yeah, let me, so just to talk about pricing. So the MSRP to the customer, end user, not to the MSP, is $6 a month, $72 a year. Okay. And that's more or less kind of where we're early, but there are some other players in the space, and that's where some of these other players are. There's some, enterprise browser companies like the Islands of the world. Their pricing is far more than that in terms of their minimum pricing. And so then obviously there'll be discounts, for MSPs based on volume. So that's just a ballpark on the pricing.
So Jonathan, is that per user, per endpoint? How is that structured?
It's per user. So, and what we have found, Roman, is that most users have multiple browsers.
Right.
Right.
And so we do it on a user basis. Some other companies are doing it on a per browser basis, but we're doing it on a per user basis.
Well, but it's also not only per multiple browsers, but what about multiple devices? Mobiles, laptops, desktops, things like that. A lot of people have multiple devices.
We're not charging for the multiple devices. One charge for the user, irrespective of how many devices.
All right. So I assume the installable is just a small agent per device, whether it's Android, iOS, Windows, or Mac.
Yeah, it's an extension and it's a sensor on Windows and Mac. So on fully managed OSs like iOS and Chrome OS, we can do it all through the extension that we built. For less managed ones, Windows, Mac, Linux, we have a sensor as well that installs the extension. Okay.
So real quick, Todd put in 6 per seat. Again, Jonathan, to reiterate, that's the end customers.
End customer. Yep.
And then are there going to be tiers, an MSP that needs 100 versus an MSP that needs 5,000?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So
That's it. That's for zero, for one user, $6 a month, $72 a year for one user. End user.
Can I quickly follow up? How do you quantify user, 365 user versus say on-prem AD, right? How does that work?
It would be, just a user with an email address.
Okay, so whatever you put, we put in your system, in your portal.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I got you. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Rich.
Rich.
So on occasion, I have to debug activities that are kicking up dust inside Microsoft, errors and MFA failures and quiescent things. And it's tracked to the browser. I'm always wondering, what's the guy doing on the browser? And I always have to interfere with them to kind of say, well, what are you doing the last 2 hours that I, did this or did that? Does tool allow a kind of a backdoor review of what a person may have done on the browser?
yeah.
Or maybe if they clicked a bad phishing email and it launched the browser and off it, tried to do something nefarious, you can look at it.
Every single event in the browser we log in OCFS and put it to the back. So every click, every keystroke, every script that gets loaded, every image that gets downloaded, we have that information.
So
Okay.
Ian, take it a step further. You could feed a sim if you wanted.
Yeah. So the whole thing is you can replay backwards and forwards what someone's been doing in the lead up to the trying to get as close to left of bang. So not just what happened, like bad thing happened. What were they doing 20 seconds prior to it and the 20 seconds afterwards? We're focusing it from a security perspective, but you could use it from a performance perspective as well, to get into that idea of what actually happened, what was the temporal sequence of events that led to incident or something being blocked. Yeah, it's all about us trying to get ahead of the incident rather than containing it after the fact. Okay.
Very cool. Other questions?
Did you, I had to drop off the call. Did you address the issue of a phishing training system to send phishing emails? We're getting issues with browsers blocking any part of the phishing exercise. Usually if the person clicks on the bad link, it's supposed to report back feedback wise to the phishing engine, but the browser gets in the way and blocks it. Do you guys allow a pathway for registered systems to send purposeful phishing emails?
Yeah, we can give you the exclusions on that one. We scan for phishing links dynamically as well. We can put in exceptions so you can just allow those through for particular users, particular time periods, so that you can get them through their training. But equally, we're also capturing every click they do, and if we block it, we can tie up to your systems as well to tell you why it was blocked, what we saw, the ability for the user to review that and say, hey, no, you shouldn't have blocked this, and get it unblocked as well. Yeah, so there's a robust integration into the entire web flow. Okay.
I have a question. Do you guys offer education prices or any sort of discounts there? I can see this being really helpful for in the instance of monitoring what students are navigating to if you're recording literally everything in the browser.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We have a very important channel partner that sells into the education market. They're one of the leading education providers, and happened to be the company that I am a founder in also in a previous life. And the education market is extremely ripe for a solution like this.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah. So if you have education customers, K-12, they're going to love the solution.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Jonathan, Ian, thanks for coming on. That was fantastic.
Thank
Can you
you.
put information in one more time?
Yeah. So what I did was I actually I tried to put in the barcode into the chat, but it wouldn't accept it because it says the administrator doesn't allow me to do that. So I put in the website. You can come in and just book a demo, a 15-minute demo. But this is the final thing that I'd like to add. I don't know if we're going to be able to. I know, Andrew, that you said that you don't have access to email addresses, but if Kaseya will be so kind, we have a brief survey that will take no more than 2 minutes to fill out with like 5 questions. And if you guys could take the 2 minutes, fill out the survey, we will share the results of the survey with each of you.
Is there a URL?
So it's not a URL. It's well, it is. Yeah, the survey is a URL. Yeah.
Go it in chat.
Okay. Let me get it. It may take a minute. So if
Yeah, you can stay on.
Okay. Okay. Great. I'll find it.
Stay on as long as you want.
Okay.
And then, by the way, Jonathan, this is also recorded and goes into, like, more people will watch this.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
In fact, that's the other reason I wanted you to be able to pop it into chat, because people
Okay.
to do that. So,
Jonathan,
Excellent.
thanks. Ian, good seeing you again.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm going to find this and I'll put it in the chat. But appreciate it, everybody. Look forward to working with you guys.
yeah. All right, Chip, let's go into, this is something you and I talked about. So let's start here. And this is, again, so this is, if true, this is not good. Chip and I have been talking, as you guys know, we talked about this many times, many weeks.
Ingram thing.
That we were concerned that the amount or the lack of transparency appearing, or I guess the triteness in which Ingram was reporting was concerning. We've been compromised. We're getting things back. We're almost back. We're back. And that was bad. And again, I'm paraphrasing what the communication was. I've spoken to certain folks over there that, I will go nameless, and I'm like, I'm worried that you are not telling people enough. At least tell them, if stuff was accessed, hey, this is what they got, like Coinbase, right, Chip? Coinbase is very transparent. Here's what was accessed. Here's what wasn't accessed. And now the clock is ticking. Now, when you talk about, Chip, 3.5 terabytes of data, if this is true, you could probably postulate, that this could be their entire client base of all MSPs, their end customers, who knows how much data this is, but it is a ton. So I'm hoping, for Ingram's sake, this is not true, but it is certainly not what we want to see out there. But as the article says, this was pretty much the last thing we ever heard. What are your thoughts, Chip, so far?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate to observe this latest twist, especially in the context of our previous concerns that Ingram wasn't disclosing enough. I mean, we talked about the fine balance between full disclosure, everything under the sun, and enough to help your partners know what their potential exposure and risk is. And I think that, we're still in that, in aviation, there's something called a dead man's curve, right? When you don't have enough power to handle the situation you put yourself in. And that's where I think Ingram is. They've not shared enough information so that their partners know what their risk is as a partner, and how they should be communicating that to their customers. Your theory, Andrew, 3.5 terabytes is certainly a large enough data set to contain, in a flat file kind of scenario, virtually all the payment PII information, of everybody that has ever worked with Ingram. Thank God I'm not in that list, although I'm sure everything that about me is already out on the internet, and most of us. But it just goes to show you that, the lack of transparency, I think, is going to come back to bite them. And among this group, I know we have people who are Ingram customers. I'd love to get a sense of how you're feeling about it, and what have you done to communicate to your customers what the potential risk is. Like, what can you do based upon the information that we've had, and what have you done already?
And by the way, as whoever raises their hand or comes on, we'd love to hear from you. But Chip, good for you guys for and Amanda for setting up that respond role. And if for those of you who don't know, if Amanda is on, she can go over it. But that was genius. Hopefully, it is not access to the Microsoft tenant. That again, but we don't know. But anybody want to, as an Ingram partner, want to chime in what they're thinking, saying, feeling?
I would ask, how is Microsoft responding to this, and how is it going to potentially impact their relationship with other software vendors?
Why do you ask Mike about Microsoft?
Well, if Ingram has this data exposed and it happens to have credential access to a tenant, This would be exposing Microsoft and its customers to a breach that means now Microsoft can go after, potentially after Ingram for all those expenses.
Well, okay. So we're
You're
assuming
talking about tenant access through
Yeah, tenant
CSP that
Yeah.
Ingram has.
Right.
Yeah,
That could be substantial.
if
Yeah.
I-
Or if
I-
I'm Adobe, or I mean, the point is they do a lot of licensing, and this could be jeopardize a lot of relationships and potentially impact a lot of customers.
yeah, the thing, I'll repeat. If you look at Coinbase, how they did it,
Yeah.
I think they were the exemplar. And what we don't know is what the canary in the coal mine, right, Chip, is we don't know what that
We don't
data.
know what's at risk.
Yeah.
And as we talked about before, when we don't know, our imaginations run to the worst case scenario because that's what we sort of have to plan for. And what we're calling out again is that that's the mistake that Ingram is making, is they're not
Huge.
being transparent enough with their quite large community of IT service providers that
Formerly
have
large.
customers, that have customers downstream from them, right? Like,
Yep.
it's one thing when something happens to any of us individually, like we can kind of handle that, right? But now when you have, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500 business customers that you're managing through your MSP that may have some risk and you have no idea what to tell them. For me, that's the real problem with this.
Yep. That's so. Anyway, we don't know, Andy and everybody. I'm not here to cast aspersions. Just wanted to bring it to you all's attention that this is a big deal when you are, like Chip said, there's a certain balance of transparency, and I'm concerned for Ingram now that this is really going to not end well for them, because now everybody's holding the bag going, what possibly, this is tomorrow. So what's going to happen tomorrow? So we'll see. Hopefully.
Well, it's 12 hours from now. It's not even,
Yeah.
or thereabouts. Has anybody else been getting calls? I'm saying this kind of as a snarky comment, but I actually mean it. Does anybody else get multiple calls from Pax8 every day? I guess not. Somehow for some reason, I get multiple Pax8 calls ever since this. Like they must think I'm an Ingram customer, which is kind of funny.
When you're on the cyber call?
Yeah, maybe that could be it.
In honor of John and Ian, I wanted to show you guys this because I'm sure this is one of the things that John, you guys pride yourself in. This is one of the biggest things. I'll put this article in, but InfoStealer is one of the areas, Jonathan, that you guys find yourself blocking quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a one in here that's just in interest of time. I know we're at the top of the hour. I'll throw it in here. There's a bunch of other things that I was hoping to get to today, but I'll leave them to next week. So with that, again, Jonathan, Ian, thanks for joining us and being our guest today. Jonathan put the URL in chat for you all. That's both the survey to take, and then again, if Eric, did you have something, bud? Oh, okay.
Doesn't sound like it. Guys, in the chat, real quick, Ben dropped his topic in there. There's an important read for you. Give everybody 30 seconds. I guess Anthony, you're running the show. So before you kill it, give everybody a little bit of time to click on the URL and just follow up on that topic that Ben wanted to get to.
Oh yeah, Ben, was that the P1?
Yeah, I'll put the link to the Microsoft article about it, and it's a P1 requirement instead of a P2.
Yeah, Ben, we're gonna actually talk about that on the cyber call too this week.
Cool.
Coming up, but that was it was a big announcement from Microsoft, providing that token.
It's token protection.
Token protection.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, look, we all, whenever we get the opportunity, we bash Microsoft. This is one of those times where they delivered on a promise. So, in all fairness, we got to call that out.
Yeah, really good stuff. I totally forgot I had that in there to talk about today, and boy, we ran out of time real fast. But good call, and wishing you all a safe, healthy week, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.